Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
One. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast we've designed and dedicated to exploring the idea of having a purpose in your work and in your life. And that purpose is having a servant's heart, doing the business in a servant's heart. And guess what? You'll impact and make a difference in somebody's life, and it will make the impact and difference in your life. Our guests are going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you on serving, on growing, on scaling, on just being better. If we all do that 1% every day, things will be really good. Here's your homework today, audience. Yeah, I got homework for you guys. Super simple. Figure out how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today, what impact you'll create with that service. And the key word is today. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till next month. After you listen to the show, just go ahead and serve somebody. If you need help, reach out to me. I'll tell you, I get to do it every day, and it's the most incredible thing that you could ever do. I want to thank my sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. They're building a community of highly successful, highly earning entrepreneurs and business owners who are going to make an impact and change in the world. How would you like to be part of that? For more information on Pantheon Alliance, just reach out to me and I'll get you all that great information. With that being said, impact, change. How would you like to increase your performance in business or in life? Well, my guest is going to help us with that today. Welcome to the show, Alaina. I didn't say it right. Alani. Say
Alaina.
it for me. Alaina. She knew I'd screw it up, and that's what a host does. He's humble when he screws up. And see, she's laughing. I'm going to keep screwing up, so she keeps laughing. No, I'm kidding. Elite performance. I've had other people on. What's your perspective on that?
Elite performance. It's an inner game, right? So elite performance, as within, so without. So when we move what we need to move inside to like stand in our value, to stand in the truth of who we are in a greater way, we get to perform at a much, much, much higher level, right? And it's really interesting listening to you speak about the servant's heart and what that is. One of the things that I teach my clients to do, which in some communities is very controversial, is serve themselves to the highest level first, what's actually in their highest good, not from an ego perspective of how to serve themselves, but when you serve yourself, when you put yourself first from that perspective, it is the most self-loving thing you can do. And then you're able to give from the saucer. You may have heard that expression, the saucer and the cup. You're able to give from the overflow rather than depleting your own cup.
Yeah, it's
and
powerful.
When you put yourself first, it allows you to perform at really high levels.
Yeah, it is controversial, but it's also forgotten as well. You know, I used to just serve, and then I'm in debt and struggling and unhealthy, all the things that you could do to help yourself. That's a great message. Entrepreneurship is tough. So how can I have elite performance as an entrepreneur? I'm only 6 months into my business.
Yeah, 6 months into your business, it's really interesting because I work with established business owners who are far more successful and looking to scale.
Okay.
Earlier in my career, I worked with earlier stage and startups at the very beginning of my career. One of the things is there's a lot of belief systems around how hard business has to be and how long it has to take. Right. So I was once talking to somebody and they said to me, well, for me to get to 6 figures, it has to take a minimum of 3 years. And I said, why? Like, why would you have that thinking? Why would you burden yourself with that thinking that it has to, I made 6 figures in my first year of coaching. I made over 6 figures. Why would you burden yourself with that belief system that it has to look a certain way? It has to be hard when it doesn't. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't take effort, but there's a huge, huge difference, Steve, between it taking effort and the effort feeling hard.
So maximizing your time and being smart about your time.
Yeah, for sure. Being smart about your time. I mean, I really, some people describe the work I do as work smarter, not harder. I think that that's very cliche and also not completely accurate. Work aligned. When you're working in alignment with both your energy and your business's energy, it allows you to know what to do. And so something that would take a really long time takes a short time. Something that might not get you great results will get better results. Right? So working with alignment is key. So I would say work with alignment, not harder.
Yeah, the 80-hour work week badge is gone. I'm 63 and my dad did that because that's what people did. And it was much different. He didn't have a cell phone. He's a contractor, so he had to drive. I mean, so time was a little different. Now we don't have to work 80-hour weeks to be elite.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, I work 20, 25-hour weeks.
There you go. No, it's, and you say it with love and excitement. 20 years ago, you say that, go, oh, she's not working hard enough. She'll never be successful.
Right. Yeah, I
Just,
was a former lawyer, so I worked
oh,
60 to 80-hour weeks.
there
Right.
you
I was a
go.
lawyer in New York City. So I understood that it burnt me out. It made me very physically ill. And
Yeah.
why? What for? Right.
Yeah.
It's a paradigm shift. It requires a shift in a belief system about being able to be successful without having to put in all those hours to do it.
Somebody told me, I wish I remembered his name. He says, people think it's a have to, it's a want to. You want to work 80 hours a week, understand the repercussions.
Yes.
Or 60 or whatever it may be. And you did it because that's the culture and what it was. You have something very unique, I found, DNA level. What is that? Describe that.
Yeah, there's okay, I'm gonna get all crunchy out there, but there's two forms of DNA. There's both the physical DNA and then there's energetic DNA, right? And so our energetic DNA is holding intergenerational patterns, a lot of limiting beliefs, all kinds of different things. It can hold positive patterns too, but it's holding negative patterns as well, right? Patterns of cycles of frustration and failure, essentially, or belief of who we are, our identity construct. And what we have the ability to do, they've done a lot of studies on epigenetics. Have you ever heard of epigenetics?
Heard of it. I'm not very familiar.
Okay. Epigenetics is the study of DNA and the understanding. This is, I'm using only a piece of epigenetics to fit the equation here. But what epigenetics does is it says just because you have a gene for, let's say you have a gene for heart failure, doesn't mean you have to experience heart failure. You can turn on and off markers, and both our thoughts and our environment is what turns on and off markers. So when you learn how to, in the best of ways, manipulate your DNA by removing things and turning off markers that you don't want to express, it allows you to do something completely different. You get to break the cycles, the intergenerational cycles. And that's on the level that I work on.
It's very cool. How's a lawyer become an elite coach?
That's a really great question. So I became a lawyer in the first place because it was my parents' agenda for me. It really wasn't what I wanted to do. I succumbed to parental pressure. And I was very successful. Like, I became the executive vice president of the largest independent music company in the world at the time. I worked for an AM 100 law firm. Like, I was very successful, but I was miserable. I was really miserable. And I was trying to understand what really was my purpose in life, because everybody has a purpose. And I didn't know what mine was. I just knew it wasn't practicing law. But I was kind of strapped by golden handcuffs because I was making such good money and I was the primary income earner in my family. So it became a situation where when I had my own practice, Steve, my cards actually said counselor at law instead of attorney at law. And it was very intentional because I really helped my clients as a mentor and a strategist think differently about their careers than just practicing law for them. And so when I ended up hiring a purpose coach, when I gave up practicing law and I was trying a bunch of things that I was passionate about, and I learned I was really good at a lot of things, not all of which I was meant to do, I hired a purpose coach. And through working with this purpose coach, it came really clear to me I'm meant to coach entrepreneurs, because 13 of the 18 years I was a lawyer, I was an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
so during that time, entrepreneurs think differently, right? We have to. When you only eat what you kill, it brings up so much more stuff for us than it does when you get the safety of a paycheck, right? So as a result, I understood the entrepreneurial mind in a very different way. And I really, it became so clear to me that I was meant to coach entrepreneurs. For a week, it took me like, really? That's what I'm meant to do? That doesn't make sense to me. And then the more I lived into it, the more I went, oh no, this makes total sense. And I haven't looked back since.
A great segue. It's such a great, because you were an entrepreneur, you had that experience, so you could coach, and of course you train and certify yourself to be able to do that. Transformation is part of being elite. Kobe Bryant was not a great basketball player when he started, but he
Right.
died, and may he rest in peace. As an incredible basketball player and athlete, he was elite. LeBron
Mm-hmm.
James, elite. How
Mm-hmm.
does somebody
Michael
start?
Jordan, elite.
Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
how does an entrepreneur like you were, like I was, transform into this elite? I mean, it's not something you just wake up and go, oh, I just read, Joe's book or Timmy's book, and I'm going to be elite. What are some of the steps?
Yeah, okay, over the years, in the gap in between practicing law and becoming a coach, I had what I'll call a dark night of the soul. I mean, it can happen at any time of life. Some might call it a midlife crisis, but it can happen at any time of life. And I had a major identity, issue because I gave up practicing law for 18 years. And I was in this, like, I watched all the structures of my life fall apart, my marriage fall apart, just everything got difficult. This very sweet financial runway that I had disappear. And in the process of that, I learned a lot of tools and techniques to help me liberate my thinking, to help me understand the nature of reality in a different way. And so the first step is really understanding the programming that's driving your behavior now. Because if you don't understand, if you don't bring that first awareness to why am I doing the things that I'm doing now, you have no ability to change them. The second step is really the ability, the desire, I would say the willingness and desire to make that change. Because there are certain people who may get that awareness, they may get the 2x4 across the head that wakes them up, but they're still not willing to change. Right? Most people are stuck in their comfort zone and they don't want to move out of their comfort zone. To be at an elite level, to be at an even high level, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's so what you're telling me, and I believe this, you need to be prepared to be uncomfortable, whether you're starting an entrepreneur or 10 years in. Uncomfortable is part of something you need to be uh, not used to, but be part of your DNA. Let's use your
Right.
thing.
Right. Is there video with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is actually our subconscious mind is designed to keep us alive, right? So how does it keep us alive? It keeps us alive by keeping us in the familiar. So it knows as long as Steve stays in this circle right here, Steve not dead, and its job is to keep Steve not dead, right? Everything you want is outside of your comfort zone. It's over here. You have to step outside your comfort zone. But what typically happens for people is they step outside their comfort zone and then their subconscious mind kicks in and the subconscious mind goes, oh my God, you're doing something you've never done before. I don't know if you're going to survive it. It's dangerous. It will create some form of self-sabotage to move you right back into the comfort zone. When you have awareness of your self-sabotaging patterns and what's causing them, you get to continue to expand the comfort zone wider and wider and wider so that what was uncomfortable for you before is no longer uncomfortable, so that you can keep moving into what you want. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a ton of sense. So I solve this uncomfortable, another one comes in. Like I gotta get up at 5 o'clock every morning to get my work done before everybody else. I do it twice a week, 3 times, and then I just wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's what happened to me, 5:30. The next step might be I need more leads. I have 5 clients, I want 15. So I got to go out and talk to people, which could be uncomfortable for. I
Exactly.
get it. I get it. That
Exactly.
is such a cool way. I've talked to hundreds of coaches. That's a really cool way of talking about being uncomfortable, because people hear uncomfortable and they get scared, right?
Right. They get really scared, right? Because they don't, the unknown is scary to the subconscious mind. It kicks in when you don't know the how. If you've never done it before, you don't know the how. And when you don't know the how, the subconscious mind will go, not safe, not safe, not safe. Danger, Will
Yeah.
Robinson, danger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so because of that, it will feel really scary, but it's not necessarily scary. right? And here for me is part of how I teach people to perform at an elite level. I teach them how to tap into their intuition on demand. When you look at some of the most successful people in the world, Steve Jobs was a huge proponent of this, but even people like Oprah Winfrey or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they'll talk about how they'll make decisions based on their intuition. They may back it up with data, but they make decisions based on the biggest decisions based on intuition. And when you can learn to tap into it on demand, it comes from an all-knowing place. So we can fast track what we need to do to be able to stay out in that unknown space without it freaking us out and moving us back into self-sabotage, back into the familiar, right? So when you learn how to use that as the guidance system of, okay, I'm at a fork in the road. I don't know which direction to go to. That's the direction I'd normally go because that one feels familiar to me. That's actually the right direction for me, right? Then you can stay on that path and actually experience something different than you've already experienced.
You taught me something, and audience, this is what she taught me, and I think it's going to teach you. First of all, Musk, Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, Bryant, they all started what we did. That's what, let's bear it down. They were all born, they were all 1 year old, they were all 2 years old, all 18 years old, they were all, all that. But to be better and be more intuitive, you need to listen, right?
To yourself first and foremost, to
yes.
the intuitive,
yes.
the inner voice, to the inner voice, right? That's really where you need to listen to. And a lot of people might get those glimpses of the inner voice, that some people call it the still small voice. A lot of people will get those glimpses, but they ignore it, right? Because it's coming in a way that seems like different from what they're expecting. So they tend to ignore it, or again, it feels uncomfortable, they'll ignore it. And what ends up happening as a result of ignoring it is some negative consequence that ends up like moving their business in a direction they don't want it to go, or spending money on some marketing or some other coaching program and not getting results, right? It creates a source of frustration in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And I've done coaching. You probably have. I don't want to speak for you. I'm sure people listening, and it didn't get a lot, but you got something out of it. And it could be, hey, I made a mistake. Learn from the mistake. I'll never buy that type of package again. That's the cool thing of what you're saying. Yeah, you could look at I lost $10,000, but no, I look at I earned $10,000 because I'll never make that mistake again because my intuitive. You're teaching me. Look at I'm a smart host. You're making me a smart host. Well, I'm going to be really smart now because you have a best-selling book. We know you're an expert now in all this you do. I'd love to hear more about the book.
Yeah, and the book it's so funny. You ever write things that because the book is really old now, and it's actually right behind me over there. But you ever write things and then you go, oh my God, if I, like from the person I am now, I'd write something completely different. I think it's still a solid book. I really do. But I would write something different now, knowing what I know, especially because I wrote that book, or the chapter that I wrote in that book. I wrote it prior to doing the work that I teach in the world now. So it's just opened my eyes in a completely different direction. Going back to what you're talking about wasting money on investments. I was struggling. There was a period of time I was struggling to scale my own business, and I'd in over a 4-year period of time invested in over $150,000 of marketing and coaching programs, and I got 0 results in my bottom line, 0 results. But it was an expensive education, right? That brought me to the work that I do now. So is it worth it? Absolutely. It's paid for itself, tenfold.
And it's hard to look at when you wrote that check or use that credit card. It's hard, but audience, take a lesson of somebody experienced the same with me. It's game changer. All the successful people, look at Shark Tank. They all talk about how they had mentors. Well, people go, Mr. Wonderful, he's such, like him or hate him. That's what I'm saying is he's definitely successful. He's multi-billionaire. He's successful if you look at it that way. I love what you just said about that because anybody can do this. It's the old noggin that gets in the way.
Exactly. That's so true. Anybody can do it if you can get out of your own way. Right? Because what I see when helping business owners scale is they're the biggest bottleneck in their own business because of their own blind spots. Right?
Yeah.
They actually think the problem often is external to them. They don't realize that the problem is not external to them. And when they work first on the inner work, then the outer work works.
That's why you love serving, because that's a part of the way of working on yourself. you learn to serve your employees, your team, your management, whatever you call that, whatever you're working with, it will always be better. Audience, there's not a lot of guarantees in life, but I guarantee you. But the problem is people look at it as school board. Okay, I'm going to serve my management staff for a year. Oh, we only went up 2%. You went up 2%.
Right, right.
You went up 3%. You went up 50%. It's the uptick, not the goal of 100%. And never do that with your goals, by the way. Don't go from 5 million to 100 million or 10 times. It's just, that's crazy. That's a dream, not a goal. Sorry, I had to put
Yeah,
that.
but one of the things that I will say to you about that, Steve, is that a lot of the clients who come to me because they're at the scale level, they're at 10,000 a month and above, even 100,000 a month and above. When those clients come to me, they often have issues with their team. Right. And again, they often think it's their team that's the issue. And they don't realize it's their leadership that's the issue, that they're attracting the same person with a different face over and over again. And again, when they do the inner work of shifting what that is and learn how to attract the right team members to put the right butt in the right seat, all of a sudden it makes an exponential income leap for them because now everything's firing on all gears.
Yeah.
Cylinders.
Yep. And the tagline I love hearing all the time: if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig.
Exactly.
I might not have said it right, but that's what came to my head. It's, you got to look at the pig, go, pig, what are we doing wrong here? I love it. Well, we come into the end here. This has been incredible. You are just a rock star. I love what you're doing. An audience, it's great. I'm going to give a real note here. I just met her today. We met but this is what happens when you meet new people. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes you connect and you resonate and you align. You'll use your word with people, and it's magical. So let's align you even more. I love asking this fun question. So I've reserved a table in a restaurant for you. Mm-hmm. Table of 4. One of the chairs, of course, will be yours. So you have 3 empty chairs. Who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I could do this with 1, but 4 is a different 3 other people is a different story. Okay, this is I said this to somebody the other day and they were so surprised by this answer. I am very interested. I'm interested in entrepreneurship, but I'm also interested in how the universe operates on a very different level, right? How do we understand, and I'm going to say this in a way, but it's all about the mind control, really, but how do we hack our ability to create on demand? That's what our ability to know who we are. So based on that, one of the people I would love to invite is Jesus, because he understood that. He had it on dial, right? On speed dial. He understood how to do that at a very high level, very enlightened being. And I would really love to understand that at a very high level. Somebody else who I feel like has it dialed in, but from a scientific perspective, but understood the power of the imagination, was actually Einstein. So I would love to have him at the table too. The third person, wow, I haven't thought about that person yet. Wow, that one's a really hard one. I don't think I'd be able to answer that in time.
Okay, 2 people's fine. I mean, do you get those 2 people? I think the conversation will go on for hours.
Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt.
So
Well,
no
you know
doubt.
what we'll do? I'm going to just I'll come into this. I'll sit in the 3rd chair because I'd love to talk to both those 2. So we'll join lock arms, and we'll talk to these 2. What a powerful table. So what am I eating at this table?
What you're eating is superfood meal, a highly nutritious, like amazingly delicious vegetarian meal.
There you go. I know Jesus would like that, bread and water, perfect. And Einstein, who knows? But if it's got light, ding, 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 it's all good.
Exactly.
Thank you again. I know people listening have taken notes. I know I have. How can they reach out to you? Because I know they want to connect with you.
And the best way to reach out, I don't handle my own social media, so I don't typically respond to people on social media. My team will do that. But if you want to reach me directly, the best way to get into my world is actually through my free gift that I have to offer, which is essentially how to shave 2 to 4 hours, how to scale your business, but shave 2 to 4 hours of your time. It's all about hacking your time, understanding how to expand time. I mean, this is something that that Einstein taught about relativity of time, right? So when you understand Einstein time, you can actually expand the time that you have. And so I would love to offer that to your audience. And that's at www.alainaschwartz.com/time course. alainaschwartz.com/time course. And then you get into my world. And then if you email me, I always personally email everyone back.
Or yeah, there'll be a contact list. And audience, that's a servant's heart. She ended it with, here's my, give your information away free. I love that you do. I do this. I do free podcast workshops. Give it away. It will come back. The universe, speaking of the universe, loves free. With that being said, again, thank you, Alaina. I got it right. Look at that. Practice makes perfect as a host. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And here's why. It's a gift. What, Steve? A gift? Well, you're listening to this podcast, and Alaina's like rocking your world. And you go, I know my friend, he wants to scale. He's been talking about scaling for months. Share the podcast with him. You don't have to introduce right away. Just, hey, listen to this lady. She's unbelievable. And they listen and they reach out to her. Maybe they hire her, or maybe she gives her a tip. Maybe they read the free book and it changes their life. Is that a gift? I want you guys to think about that, because I truly believe you just gave them a gift. And me and Alaina want to thank you all so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.